If you're thinking about selling here in St. Louis, I've got news for you, and you probably already know this. The spring market is gone. It's full-blown summer real estate market, and there's two huge changes that happen. First is demand goes down, and second, inventory goes up. The question is why? Well, inventory goes up because everyone that saw how successful the spring market was, they're ready to list. But they've kind of missed out, or have they? That's the real question. Now, here's the three biggest mistakes, and that's what this video is about when it comes to pricing your home in the summer market, and really any market, but specifically during the summer. My name is George, and I've been helping people buy and sell real estate for the last 12 years, and I can't tell you how stressful it is to sell a house. I don't care what time of the year it is. I've sold my own homes and I've helped people buy and sell real estate. And no matter what we do as real estate agent, there's always a level of stress and anxiety. And the biggest question is, when is someone going to walk into my house and write an offer? No one cares about days on market. That only tells you the full life cycle of a transaction, especially here in the St. Louis market. Days on market are almost irrelevant because that doesn't tell me how quickly those homes got a contract on that property. So let's walk through the three biggest mistakes, and then I'm going to give you a pricing strategy, a very simple one, and then I'll walk through it in an entirely separate video. That way you can decide, do I want to make one of these three mistakes, or do I want to go with the no regret pricing strategy? The biggest mistakes the seller makes when it comes to pricing is listing too high and ready to negotiate down. But here's the problem. When you're looking at sales comps, most agents miss this. Some of the really good ones understand it, but the problem is that no one looks at the list price. What was the list price that these properties listed for, and then what did they sell for? Because the list price is the key to understanding the comparable sales. That's great if one property sold for 250,000, but did it list for 250,000, or did it list for 275,000, or did it list for 225,000? Those three price differences are huge, and I actually walk through some of that in my pricing strategy video that you can check out right here. Mistake number two. Mistake number two actually happens because of mistake number one. You end up chasing the market down. So when you list your house too high and you don't list it at a psychological benchmark, one that says, hey, I know what the buyers are expecting this house to be worth, and that's the number that they're going to walk in the door, because the key here is to get them to walk in the door. And when you list too high, you get trapped in mistake number two, which is chasing the market down, and you have to make price reductions. But the problem with price reductions is that it doesn't reset the clock. And when you're sitting on the market for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you do a price reduction, if you do not do a significant price reduction down to a psychological benchmark, it will have zero impact. There are some agents, there are some sellers that will do $1 a day, $100 a day, or $1,000 a week, and you're only really chasing down the market. So quick tip, if you've listed too high, your house is sitting on the market, don't be afraid to price down to a psychological benchmark that buyers are expecting to see. So let's say you've listed too high at 275 and you've been sitting on the market for 3 weeks. And of course, I'm generalizing. Your house may have specific issues, or maybe it was the timing listed on a holiday, or before a holiday, or after a holiday. Any of those number of things could have happened. But if you're sitting on the market for 3 weeks, it's a really good indicator that you're priced wrong and not what the market expects the home to be listed at. And that's why they're not walking in the door. So the best thing you can do is reduce down to a psychological benchmark. Let's say you're at 275. You should reduce by a minimum of $5,000 to $10,000. And here's the thing, a lot of sellers have told me, but won't buyers just wait for the price reductions to keep coming? They might. They might just wait until you continue to reduce. But here's the thing, if you become competitive to a new listing by reducing, when that new listing comes on the market, you're going to draw activity off of that new listing at your new price, because now the buyer has to compare that property, the new one, to the one that's been sitting on the market. And the question will be asking, Well, why is that one sitting on the market? Now they're priced at the same, they look the same. We should at least go look at that one too. Happens all the time. I've worked with a ton of buyers, and we look at a lot of homes that have been sitting on the market with fresh price reductions. Now, let's go through the third mistake that I see sellers make, and it's really nothing intentional and makes a lot of sense. But unfortunately, it happens often because most sellers are looking at their money in and what they're going to get out. And the expectation is that if I put a dollar in, I'm going to get a dollar out. And that's just not how the real estate market works. When you're looking at a roof repair, HVAC, water heater, I actually did a whole video on this, and you could check that one out as well. Those things are happening in a vacuum. So if you only do the roof, you only do the HVAC, you only complete a water heater repair, that has happened in a vacuum. And the $4,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 that you might spend on a roof, the only thing that you're doing is making sure that those items are in working order because that's what the market expects. The buyer's still going to consider your entire home, regardless if there's a new roof, HVAC, or water heater. And that's why I tell sellers, hey, let's not replace it if it's in working order. And that includes big updates too, especially if they're cosmetic ones, because if the roof is in disrepair, HVAC's broken or barely running, the water heater's leaking, or you have a sewer lateral issue and you put in a $40,000 kitchen, that kitchen didn't happen in a vacuum. They have to consider everything else and all the other expenses that they might have. And if you're under $350,000, you're working with a first time home buyer that has limited funds to begin with. Now that you know the biggest mistakes that can happen in pricing real estate, let's talk about the no regret pricing strategy. And I'm going to walk you through it briefly because then I'm going to go through and explain it in a future video. So if you like this video so far, like and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on it because it's going to be an in-depth explainer on how I sold multiple homes in one day above list price. Some of them had 20 showings on them. Some of them had 40. Some of them had 27 showings. And they were all under contract within 1 to 2 days. And sometimes we drag that along because the seller wanted to, because they had that option. And that's the reality in real estate that if you have the leverage, that means you can walk away. If you can walk away, you have the leverage. Now, if the buyer has the leverage and they can walk away at any point because you have no other interest, then you're kind of left doing whatever the buyer wants you to do, whether that's inspections, the occupancy repairs, or handling appraisal conditions that come up later on down the line. Now that you know the biggest mistakes, I'm going to walk you through the no regret pricing strategy. This is going to be the simplified version because I'm going to do a video very shortly in the future. So like and subscribe if you want to watch that video, especially if you hear it in the St. Louis market. You're getting ready to list and it's summertime. You need to hear this. And if you want to check out some of the other things that I've mentioned in terms of pricing, timing St. Louis, all those videos are available in the playlist of what I learned after getting 2,100 showings on our listing. What's the no regret pricing strategy and why you should be using it? It's pretty simple. It's just the lowest price that you're willing to take and your net goals are hit. That means the take home money that you have after commission, taxes, title fees are all met. What is that actual goal? And if you break that down and get down to your lowest number that you'd be willing to take, that's actually the best number to start at. That way you're not chasing the market down and you're not making bad price reductions. Now, that's the simplistic view, the overview of what that strategy is. And here is the thing: you can like, you can share. I'm open to comments. If you disagree, that's totally fine. But here are the results. I have multiple clients selling in a day, sometimes 20, sometimes 40 over list price with no inspections. Because we're creating competition and we're not artificially reducing the price down to one and creating an auction style bid, what we're doing is listing the property at what the market expects: a 3 bed, 3 bath, whatever type of home, that whatever they expect that house to be worth, we're listing it for what they think it's going to be worth. And the thing is that when they walk in the door, they realize, oh, it's actually worth more than the list price. But unfortunately, we have to list it at what they expect because that's the type of buyer that you're working with. You're not working with 1995 buyers. Everybody's willing to negotiate, everybody's willing to go up or down. You're working with Gen Z and millennials, and they want the easy button. They want to pay you list price, or they want to pay more because they think it's worth more, or at least it is worth more to them on an individual basis. They're willing to do that. And then they want to negotiate inspections, but they don't want to negotiate on price. So if you like this video, feel free to like, share, and again, I'm not afraid of comments. If you have a comment, feel free to drop it below. I totally get it if you dislike the strategy, but at the end of the day, it gets resolved.